Hey guys, what's up? GarageKing here, and we have a 2014 Hyundai Santa Fe 2-liter Sport. We're going to do the rear brakes on this vehicle today, so after watching this video, you will know how to do the rear brakes. So let's get to it. So first thing we got to do when we're going to do the rear brakes is we're going to take off this tire. So I'm using a 21 mil socket here. Okay, so if we take a look at the rotor, this rotor is kind of big. In the center, it looks big like that, and the reason it looks big like that is we actually have our brake shoes in the middle of it, or at least that's what I believe. Let's see what happens when we open it up. Should have the brake shoes in it. That's a telltale sign of why this looks so poofy. Now, there's two Phillips screws here to undo. You can see one there, one there. So they're not a big deal. You can use a number 3 screwdriver, or what I use is just a 3/8 sort of, it's kind of like a little extension piece, and then I can just put on the impact gun to take it off. But what I'll do is I'll make sure I always put them on by hand. Now, in order to get these calipers off here, we need to take the brake calipers off. Most of the times the upper bolts, if you want to call them that, and then the bracket bolts are different sizes, but on this one it's actually pretty easy. You don't have to change around sockets too much because they're all 14 mil sockets. So that's pretty cool. Let's take a look at that. Okay, we're in behind the caliper here, and we can see top bolt here is a 14 mil. Make sure we put it on to off because we want to take the bolt off, so we'll switch it to off. So now that those top bolts off, we're going to lift the caliper out just like that. Caliper's out, and we can rest that up here. Now here's fine to rest it on. You don't want it to hang. If you find you have to hang it, then what you should do is you should be getting something like this, and you should hang it. Just connect that to a spring, but here we're fine. We can leave it just like that. So you can see I have the tool in the caliper just like so, and I'm just going to ratchet it. And let me tell you, getting a tool like this is so much easier than fighting with it with other stuff. So that's great. So that's all done now. And once again, we can hold it like that. Now we have 2 more 14 mil bolts on the back. And there we go, just like that. And there we go, they are out. So you can see the rotor surface on these rotors are actually pretty good. So some people may even be asking, why am I even replacing these rotors? Because the surface of the rotor area actually looks really good. Well, the problem is they're warped. So we got a shaky pedal, and we've traced it down to the rear rotors. So that's why it has to be, that's why they have to be replaced. And as you can see me tugging on it here, they won't come. So we're just gonna spray some penetrating fluid and just let them sit for a second. Let's take our trusty mini sledge. Let's give it a little whack and see if we can just break it free. And that is tight. Put a little bit more penetrating fluid. Good thing to do is go around all the studs. Now sometimes with these brakes that have the rear shoes inside the rotor, the rear shoes can actually get hung up on a lip inside. So that's what happens. But we'll see. Once we crack it free, we'll see if they're hanging up. But if they're hanging up, then we'll try to adjust them so they go down. But we will see. And that is it. And you can see the rear brake shoes in there. That's where it's all rusted up, that center part. So new plug is in. All right, so you can take your wire wheel, just give it a good cleaning here. There we go. Make sure you're wearing eye protection if you're using one of these. You don't want to get one of these bristles in your eye. And wear a mask. After that, if it's a little bit greasy, just give it a shot of brake clean. You can see there, we just clean it all off. You put some anti-seize on this flange. This is one of the reasons why it's so hard to get rotors off. If ever you have an old car and you're trying to do brakes and you're banging and banging away, it's because it's all rusted up in here. So anti-seize will go a long way. It's definitely your friend, and you should use it. So let's pull out the old brake pads. There we go. There's 1, 2. So we're gonna take those out. Okay, now we're gonna pull these off. We can put new ones in. They usually come with the brake pads, and then what we're gonna do is I'm gonna just take a wire wheel and just gonna clean out in there, just clean it up a little bit, make it look a little pretty. So I've cleaned up the caliper bracket just with a wire wheel. That's all I did. I just cleaned it up, took out some of the rust. So now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take the pins out. Do one at a time because sometimes the pins are a little bit different. So we're just gonna pull this pin out, just like so. If they're rusty, you should take them to the wire wheel where the mating surface is for the rubber. These ones are, or this one in particular is good. And we're gonna put some caliper lube in there. And I'm just using a ceramic lubricant, so it's just a high quality lubricant for caliper pins. Now we're just gonna put some anti-seize here. And now we have our new brake pads. Put these new ones in. Okay, so we're gonna put the rotor on first. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna line up these bolt holes here. There's a bolt hole there and a bolt hole there. So we're just gonna put it on like so. There we go, just like that. Okay, now that we have the rotor on, we're gonna put our set screws in. It's really nice when vehicles have set screws because you don't have to worry about putting a lug on to hold them. You just put the set screw in. These don't have to be tight, just pretty much hand tight, either with a screwdriver, or you'll see I'll be using a ratchet on this in a second. There we go. And I don't even know if you can see, there's the tool I'm using. So I actually just put it on the end of a ratchet. So we're taking our bracket now, and we're gonna put our bracket on top, just like this. There we go, and we're gonna line up those screws in the back now. There's one hole right there, and we're gonna put our bolt in, and we're gonna feel with when it lines up with our caliper bracket. And there's one more at the bottom. I don't know if the camera's panned down enough to see. Let's see if we can get you a shot. There you go. Socket. The bolt itself isn't 14 mil. When I refer to a 14 mil, I'm actually referring to the head of the bolt. So that's the size of the socket that you're going to need. That's what I'm referring to. So now we're going to put this on. Let's stick our caliper on, just like so. And there's top one by hand, goes on nice. And our bottom one by hand. And the job is done. Now let me show you all the tools that I used to get this job done. Okay, so what tools did I use? Well, I didn't use a lot of tools, to be honest. My caliper spreader came in super handy. I use that on absolutely every brake job. I have to use a hammer. Most of the time you have to use hammers just to remove rotors. Your socket to take off the wheels. My ratchet with a 14 mil, not much to that. A little screwdriver right there, and that was just for putting caliper lube inside of the caliper brackets. And then, yeah, number 3 Phillips with an extension, a little wire wheel up there for some cleaning. And that's about it. So really not a heck of a lot. So if you have any questions, anything like that, be sure to let me know. Other than that, GarageKing over and out, and I hope to see you on the next one. Thanks, everyone.